something, man.
Energy, man. Why you do that, man? Why you do that, man?
Bro, put a silencer on him. This bitch shoot like Bro, put a silencer on him. She sound like Lee's.
It's your boy J Money. You back tuning into Up Next podcast with another episode before the new year ends, man. Before the new year starts. Shit, man. But we got a special guest in the building, man. We got Zayce Hundo, man. What it do? What it do?
What up, what up?
Shit, chilling, man. Chilling. Appreciate you coming through, my boy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man. See, on this podcast, we like to get to know more about the artist, the producer, whoever we have in the building. We'd like to get to know more about them, the background story, etc., man. So talk to us, man. Talk about your upbringing. Where you from? What was it like growing up?
I grew up in the city of La Puente. That's pretty much where I was born and raised, San Gabriel Valley. I've been out there all my life, so, I come from there, I started doing music like 10 years ago, so I've been producing, engineering since then.
How'd you get into music?
Really, I've always kind of been into music, like since I was in high school, I'd mess with like Fruity Loops and stuff. And then when I turned 21, I seen an ad for Los Angeles Film School, and they're offering a music production program. So I went there to like learn everything because I really didn't know much, at the time. So going there was a big help.
That's dope. That's dope. So you really didn't have no experience in music until you got into LA Film School.
Yeah, man, nothing really like with the program, instruments or anything. So going there was a big help for me because I got to learn like theory, they taught us all the programs, stuff like that. So I was able to excel like real quickly,
Would you recommend LA Film School for anybody that really wants to head in that direction? Because I personally, I was going to sign up to LA Film School because, I want to get to learn more about producing, engineering and stuff, but that shit's expensive too.
Yeah, it is expensive.
So would you recommend somebody that's really, really wants to head in that type of field to really head into film school? Or do you think that's like the things that you learn, they can learn like on YouTube, or learning if they could sit down with artists and producers in classes and things like that? Like what was your experience about it?
Me personally, I liked it because, like I said, I had no knowledge, so I was able to learn a lot, like, you know what I mean? As opposed to like just going on YouTube and trying to figure it out myself. But there's lots of schools out there really you could look into, or YouTube, aside from going to school, I also was putting in work outside of school, So I think that's where I really excelled, like meeting people, learning different things from other people as well, But yeah, there's lots of schools out there people could look into, or if not, just go on YouTube and practice, bro. I feel like in this, with music, it's all about hands-on, You got to just try different things, so.
As long as hands-on in the music industry, it's also about, it's about who you know and what you know at the same time, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With different placements, different artists,
who knows
things like
you.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So talk about the first beat you made, and, you started getting more, more introduced in this new industry. So talk about when you first, started sending out beats and then artists tapping in. Do you remember the first beat you sent out?
Not really, but I remember all my first beats and just like trying to figure out like, all right, well, how am I gonna get people like on my beats, I really started by working with like local artists in my city, you know what I mean? So that was a good way for me to start getting some exposure, you know what I mean? But working like on your brand and like networking is like super key, So I would just network with people, and as I would get more placements, smart placements kept rolling in with bigger artists or different artists, So just working on your brand and just putting in that work.
What were your expectations? Heading, with no knowledge in this industry and have no experience prior to this. Like, what was your expectations going in to the industry, as an artist, as a producer, as an engineer? Like, what were you expecting of all this?
Man, I didn't know what to expect, really. Like, to be honest, like, back in the day, I never thought, like, this would be possible, But times changed and, like, the industry changed, music was more accessible and it felt like more of a possibility, So, I don't know. I've always felt like I had a good ear for music. I've always been into music, So I just was like, yeah, I could do this, So like I said, I went to school And I just, since I started, I've never stopped, like, took a break. Like, I've never been, like, off the grid for 6 months, like, going on 10 years, you know what I mean? So,
That's dope.
I think that's a big part is just, like,
Consistency.
believing in yourself, you know, and just learning. You got to, like, be willing to learn every day, you know what I mean? Like, learn something new every day, you know? So, because this industry is constantly changing, like, you know what I mean? So, you got to keep up with it.
Yeah, like one thing I was talking about with somebody else is like you never know who's next to blow up. There can be somebody in the industry that's been making music for 10 years and somebody that just started, and that person that just started, you know, can go viral, you know, on TikTok, on Instagram, all these new social media platforms that we have now. You really don't know what to expect, so that's why it's always, you know, it's good to always open doors for anybody that really wants to work, and, you know, never trying to neglect anybody type thing, you know what I'm saying? So it's always to really anybody that wants to work, it's always cool, you know, to really tap in with them because you never know who could be next.
Exactly. Yeah. That, I mean, and I that's what I would always do. You know, like I was just like, all right, let me just work with whoever I can. You know what I mean? Because it also helped me grow as like my brand as Zayce Hundo. But like you said, you never know who's next. You know, and it just takes one to like really set things off. So yeah, I'm always looking for new artists to work with.
Yeah, that's fire. So now that you really started heading into this industry, you talked about before we got in here, you had your own studio as well.
Yes.
So talk about that. Like, how did that even like? What was the process behind opening up your own studio? You know, what was your goal getting into it? Talk about that.
Yeah. So I have a studio. We go by 11 Studios. I run it with my boy Innovate. He actually had it opened first, and then I kind of joined him and helped grow it. So we've had like 3 spots now, one in Ontario, one in Covina, and then one in Glendora. But having your own personal space to work is key, you know, because we was working in the bedroom and, you know, everyone's home, family's home, like recording in the closet, you know, we all start there, you know. So, and it also let me live off music. You know, I've been living off music for like 4 years now. I do music full time, and you know, I engineer a lot, so I run a lot of sessions, and I'm thankful to have clients, you know, like I was able to build my name and along with the studio as something is for quality, you know what I mean? So that's why people come to me, for the quality, for the vibes, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, we've been open for like 4 years, and we've worked with anybody you could probably name, you know? So, one time or another, they've been through 11 studios, so it's cool. You know, I got my team right there, and we're just growing.
Yeah, that's dope. Do you remember that first track that you produced that just went crazy? Like it was like, you know what? Like Zayce Hundo really started making a name and really starting to make a brand for itself.
Yeah, I have a song with Ono we did a few years back. That did like over 1 mil, and a song with Self Provoked. That also went crazy, you know what I mean? I had people from Peru that like tapped in. They're like, yeah, man, we heard the Self Provoked song. Like, you're dope. And it's crazy because they tapped in, and then I ran into them in San Diego, and it's just like, yeah, people in Peru know you, you know? And it's just like crazy, you know, like to see that, you know, like coming from nothing with no idea of how things were going to go to like people in different countries knowing your name, you know? So it's just crazy, bro.
That's dope.
How things could happen, you know?
Hell yeah. Can you list some of the artists that you have worked with so far?
Yeah, man, it's a lot. But you know, some recent ones I've worked with Young Drummer Boy, Inhale, Larry June. I got to work with. I got to record Masego one time. That was fire. Mike Nero, SVG Preem. It's a lot of people, you know.
So you really got a catalog for yourself.
Yeah, dude. I got like over 200 songs probably out like on platforms, you know.
That's dope. That's dope. Do you have like a favorite artist that you worked with?
A favorite? I mean, I like working with all of them. You know what I mean? Like I learn from all of them. You know, so that's what I love about working with a bunch of different artists. Is like, you know, I could take from one person what I learned and apply it to the next person. You know, but recording Masego was dope. I got to record his saxophone, so that was fire. That was probably one of my favorite times for sure.
Talk about how you got those placements. Like, how did those placements come along? Because you just didn't roll out of bed and they hit you up or something like that. So talk about how the process came and how you really got to work with these type of artists.
Just building my brand, you know, building my name, like just grinding, bro, and like networking. I feel like me just being consistent, like always dropping music, like you know, it keeps my name buzzing and like keeps it like people to watch me. You know what I mean? So I feel like building my name and networking, and also having my own studio. You know, like having my
Yeah.
own studio is key to a lot of things because
They
I
can
just
just
hit
pull
them
up.
up and pull them up. Like that's how I started working with Inhale. I DM'd them. I'm like, yo, you know, like your music's dope. Like let's work. Come to my studio. Let's record. So that's been a big thing. And when they come, then I could make the beat. I could record. I can mix, master. Like I'm one stop shop. So you know, they usually come back, and it's usually a good vibe. You know, so. Well, I
Yeah.
think definitely building your brand is like super key, bro. Like it's for producers, like that's like really everything, you know. Like,
So talk about that because you're talking about your brand.
mm,
So as a producer coming up now, what's your advice to them? You know that they're coming into the industry
yeah,
about starting the brand,
yeah,
building the brand, establishing it, maintaining it. You know,
yeah,
think key components like that.
yeah,
What's your advice for young producers? You know, that's really trying to learn. You know, to produce and get into the business.
yeah. First, like focus on the craft, you know, like make sure the beats is as fire as you can make them, you know. That's like always first. But once you got that down on lock, like you really just got to start focusing on getting yourself out there, you know what I mean? So working with artists in your city is a good way to start, you know what I mean? Then start networking on Instagram, messaging people. Like, don't be afraid to hit up people. You know what I mean? Like, don't be boring either. Like when you hit them up, you know, like hit them up like on some real interaction shit. You know what I mean? Like, how's your day? What's good? You know, I got some beats. You know, what's your email? I could send them to. But yeah, I establishing quality. You know what I mean? Like, you want people to know you for quality. You know what I mean? So that's why they're gonna want to come to you. You know, because they need that sound or you know, they need what you got. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, networking, establishing your brand, super key, man.
Now, as a recent interview I had with another producer, there's been times where you know a real producer sits down with an artist and builds a sound there. You know what I'm saying? So has there ever been a time where you sat down with an artist, you built a sound, and they didn't really like it, and then you know you was like, okay, so how do you want this be? And so you know you got to where he wanted it to sound that he wanted it to be at, and just talk about it. You know, like was there ever a time where you sat down with an artist where you guys didn't really meet, but then you worked together to really get there? Because as a producer, you know, there's gonna be times where you send an artist to be, and the artist gonna be like, "Well, I don't really like that." And as a producer, that he hops on your beat, and the artist hops in the booth, you're like, "I don't really like the way that sounds." It's really teaching each other and really listening to the both ears from both perspectives. So, what's your thoughts about that? And has that ever happened to you, like in an experience prior?
Yeah, that's actually like my forte. I love working in the studio with artists as opposed to sending beats. I really don't like to send beats, you know, because when you get in the studio with the artist, it's a lot easier to meet like halfway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were saying, like get the idea to come together. Um, but yeah, you know, all the time there's times I start the beat and they might not like where it's going, and you really can't let that like slow the process down. It's like when you're in the studio with the artist, it's all about the vibe. And like as a producer, engineer, you gotta kind of keep the vibe going for the artist, right? So if it's not working, scratch it. You know, start something new. You know, or just listen to the artist's input. You know, and just make it happen. You know, um, I think that's what's really big for me is I'm very versatile. So a lot of artists can come to me and be like, hey, I want reggaeton or I want like dancehall or I want like an indie rock record and like I gotta make it happen. You know what I mean? So I think there's a that producer beat maker talk is a real thing because a producer you really producing the record from start to finish. You know what I mean? Beat maker is more just making the beat, sending it, which is all good. You know what I mean? Like you're providing the instrumental, but being a producer, you're in the studio, I know you're a part of the whole record. So
Yeah.
that's why I really like to take pride in being is a overall producer,
Yeah, and that's what really separates a producer from a beat maker.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
For real, it's really when you're able to sit down with an artist and actually build something there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
From scratch.
So 2021, you dropped a project.
Yeah.
All in.
All in. Yep.
So talk about that. All in. How the name came along. What was your process? What was your process behind the project? why did you want to drop that project now? You've been in the industry for 10 years. Why wait so long?
Yeah.
So talk about everything your mindset. Really head into this project. Having rap, you had Spanish music. You know what I'm saying? So just a different variety, man. So just talk about it all. Break it all down to us.
Yeah. I work with like a lot of artists, man. So I need to utilize that, like on some DJ Khaled type shit, like I got access to a lot of great artists, and I have relationships with them. So I'm like, yeah, let me put a project together, and let me reach out to all these artists I work with and get some going. I waited a while just because I was building my brand, like I didn't want to drop a project when I didn't really have eyes or ears to listen, and also I wanted to have, fire artists on there, so I was building relationships. But yeah, I mean, I had a bunch of records, because I cut a lot of records, bro. So I had a bunch of records there, and I just kind of put them together. Stuff I had to finish, I'd have the artist pull up, and we'd finish and stuff. But I was real proud of that project, man, because it showed like my versatility.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of that, is being versatile. I'm not like stuck in a box. You come to me with any type of idea, I'll make it happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, that project was fire. I had 2 singles on there. They did good. On Spotify they got like 40K each. So, I was proud of it.
So the name All In, like, was that like, what? I'm about to just go all head in, bro. Like, I'm about to just give it all in.
Yeah, that's just my mentality, Is like, in this music, you got to be all in, man. Like,
you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Nah, that don't work, bro. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself doing that, So it takes a lot of sacrifice, bro, doing music. You got to sacrifice a lot of time away from your family and stuff. But you got to be willing to do that to make it, bro.
Yep.
And a lot of people aren't willing to do that, so that's what separates you,
Yeah. So I was reading your catalog, and you had music with Larry June, Phoenix Flexin, artists that's really have a name for themselves. How did you land those placements?
Yeah. So the Larry June one, I actually got it with Inhale. That was like my first song I did with Inhale. Me and Inhale cut the record. We both felt like Larry would kill it, so Inhale was able to help make that happen. We cut that one. With Phoenix, I had a song with him and Peso and Street Active. So all 3 of them got on there, and it was fire, man.
Yeah. Do you have like a favorite? Like a favorite song?
Favorite song?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got too many favorite songs, bro. Nah, man, I got too many. Bro.
You got too many. So now that you're 10 years in this industry, man, going way back then, you didn't know what to expect, and now you have a catalog over 200 songs. You work with a lot of artists that have a name for themselves. You built a brand name for yourself. Like, what's next for you? Like, what's your goal going into this 2023 year?
Wow, I am dropping another project. I'm about like 50% done with it. I got some big artists on that. Can't really leak too much about it, but that's in the works. And just continuing to grow my brand, man. Hopefully get some bigger placements. I'm really trying to tap in with like the next level. You know what I mean? And also growing my studio. May probably open up another location. So business, man. Like that's also key in music, bro. You gotta have like some incomes, coming in. So
yeah.
However you can do some business, look into that for sure.
Facts, bro. So you also right there you have placements with Drummer Boy. So how did that come along with Drummer Boy?
Yeah, I met Drum a couple years ago. His engineer 100 had a room in the same studio as us. So we would always run into him. So just over time we kind of made a connection. And yeah, man, we just locked in. I got real cool with his engineer, so I started going into some of their sessions and just starting to produce. I was on 2 of his projects that he dropped this year. along with my team 11. We helped produce it. Yeah, it was fun. The first project, he wanted to do something different, so I was glad that we were able to give him something different than that, like what he usually does, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, working with John, he's a hard worker, man. He also produces too, so he helped on some of the records, you know.
So, do you like to produce more or you like to engineer more?
I like to produce, you know. I'm a producer, you know. And I feel like a producer knows how to engineer, you know, knows how to mix,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
they should know.
they should know, you
Yeah.
know, like so I just go by producer. Like that's what I like doing, man. I like being in there from the start of the record to the finish, you know. Like, cause you see some magic happen, you know.
Yeah. Who are some of the artists that you want to see yourself work with? Whether it could be, you know, the main industry or, you know, anybody just coming up now. Like, give me 5 artists that you want to see yourself working with.
Oh yeah, for sure. Little Maru from San Diego.
Oh, San Diego, yeah.
He's fire. I'd like to work with Lil Baby would be dope. Don Tolliver.
Mm.
Let's see who else. I like to work with man. There's a lot of fire artists out there. G Perico.
Mm.
Perico's fire. Dom Kennedy, that would be dope.
Yeah. That's hard for sure. So talk about right now in this industry, it's a lot of politics, bro.
Yeah.
Like and it's really hard, you know, for a producer or artist to really make it out of, you know, of a box. Because right now I feel like everybody like that comes up in the West Coast is really trapped in a box, kind of. You know what I mean? They're really trying to box us in. I was reading in a prior blog that said a lot of people from LA, you know, when they make music, it's only for people in that area. Like a lot of people from, you know, different states and different cities can't really tap into that music because they really just can't get, like, they can't vibe with it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like we're really boxed in.
Yeah.
So as a producer, like, what is your like way to really not try to box yourself in and really, you know, expand your music? And as an artist, you know, working with artists, not really trying to just be in one spot. So talk about it, bro. Like as a producer, what's your process of not really trying to box yourself in, but really make yourself, you know, a brand and really expand it?
I think you do that by working with a lot of artists from maybe different states or just different artists that aren't necessarily doing like West Coast music, you know. That way, you know, you learn how to produce other types of music. But also, when you work with an artist, you want to get them to try to be open-minded, you know. On the West Coast, we got our own sound, you know, and I'm proud of that, you know, and I'm sure we're all proud of that, you know. But if you want to, you know, get a little further, you know, you gotta just tap in and expand your sound and like be open to trying different things, you know. When you create, you gotta be open, man, because if not, you know, you're gonna just stay stuck doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So definitely trying different music. You know, when you're in the studio, try different things. You know, as an artist, try different records. Try to mess with your voice. You know, see what you can do. And as a producer, just same thing. Try different sounds, different tempos. You know, different drum patterns.
Yeah, for sure, bro. And you said prior, like you were making reggaeton type of sounds too. How did you learn how to get into that?
Man,
That's not easy, bro.
Yeah. You know, I just did it, man. I just learned, you know, the rhythm. You know, I studied it, obviously.
Is it different? Like, sorry to interrupt, but is it different from, you know, making like a regular beat than like from a reggaeton beat? Like, what's the process behind it?
Yeah, it's definitely different. You know what I mean? The drum, the swing could be, you know, pretty basic, but you got to get those sounds, you know, like those crazy sounds, and it's definitely more a beat, you know. So you're in there rocking, but I like to make reggaeton because it's fun, you know. Like,
Yeah.
When you're in the studio creating with an artist, it's very upbeat, very energetic, you know. But you know, I was working with a lot of local, you know, artists that were doing like reggaeton type music, you know, like FIFA, Mas Fortuna.
FIFA, I heard.
So,
Yeah, I had FIFA on the pod. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I've got to work with them and you know, a couple other artists as well. And like I said, like that's what keeps me versatile is just by working with different artists like that are doing different types of music. You know, like, and I feel like once you can master all that, man, like you really become, dangerous.
Hell yeah, because now you could really expand and work with anybody.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Really
You get in the studio with Bad Bunny, whoever, and like
Yeah.
make something for them.
Even artists that can do both, like D Smoke,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
English and rapping and Spanish.
Yeah, man.
That's hard as hell. So now that you're 10 years in, you're growing. What's some advice that you would give your younger self? When you first started, when you first headed to LA Film School, and then now here you are sitting here, with over 200 music catalog, working with those producers and artists. What's advice that you would give your younger self heading into this game?
Just not to overthink and like not to get overwhelmed. Just to believe in myself and keep going, because that's the biggest key, man. Is like there's so many people out here doing this, but a lot of them, they fall off or they stop, And as long as you keep going, bro, you're gonna get to where you want to go. Like Nipsey Hussle said, man, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So, definitely just taking your time and like, holding yourself accountable, bro. Like putting in the work every day is key, man.
Yeah, facts, bro. Anything you want to let the fans know, the people know, what should they be expected for Zayce Hundo?
Man, well, I got a project coming this year. I got a single out now called Bang Your Line featuring Thank You Martino. It's on all platforms, so make sure you go check that out. Check out my boy Up Next podcast.
Hell yeah. Shit, man, that's your boy J Money. Zayce Hundo in the building. Make sure you tune in.
Sure.
Be aware of what he got coming out, man, because Zayce Hundo's really on the way out, man. You
Up
know what I'm
next.
saying, man? Shout out to Zayce, man. Shout out to Chris for putting this together, man. You know what I'm saying? Stay tuned, man. 2023 is going to be a
Sure.
good year. We're going big,
Coming.
So it is what it is, man. Shout out Zayce. It's your boy J Money. Up Next podcast. Let's get it.
Appreciate it.